I'll start this off by admitting I'm not the biggest Pokemon fan. When I was a kid, sure, I was just as obsessed with all these little walking genocide critters as everyone else was, but my experience with Pokemon starts all the way back in Gen 1. Yeah, the guy whose memories I inherited is old, but cut me some slack, I'm like 2 or 3 years old, assuming I didn't take years to write the script. But yeah, I remember getting the Game Boy as a hand-me-down when my brother got the Game Boy Color, and I got Pokemon Blue while he got Red. We didn't trade because we actually owned that fucking link cable thing. We did. Later. We used it to play Four Swords and trade Pokemon like once. I remember my starter was Charmander because I'm basic and fire is cool. I also remember raising only that Charmander. I pretty much solely relied on him, and the rest of my team were just for matchup types or to die while I healed Charizard. I actually caught the legendaries to fight the Elite Four, and it's how I won as a kid. Also, I've been told it was a fever dream or something, but I swear I played some version of the game where if you talk to NPCs enough times in towns, any of them could battle you. I remember battling the dude who hangs outside of Professor Oak's lab. I also remember a Pokemon move that got me behind the trees that you can't cut down, but I don't know how I did, and everyone tells me I'm crazy, but that version of the game has to exist. It has to. But yeah, I played Gens 1, 2, and 3. 2 was my favorite, and I actually didn't like 3 much at all. I wouldn't play the DS ones. I don't really remember why I skipped out on them, I just sort of lost interest. I didn't play again until X and Y, which I thought Megas were cool, but in playing this one I kept thinking that they were real simple and easy, like if they were written for babies, and I realized cause like, yeah, that's the target audience. Now I'm not saying being for a young audience excuses quality or anything. Stuff targeted towards children have proven that they can be quality for everyone, such as the Batman animated series, or even the PS1 Spider-Man games that had a mode literally called Kid Mode. Though sometimes the people who make the demands that Pokemon should be more mature and darker need to like go play something else. This series clearly isn't for you anymore. Sheesh. I didn't play Sun and Moon, and while I did get Pokemon Shield, I did not actually finish it. So overall, my opinion on Pokemon is meh. I never got into the competitive scene as it didn't interest me, and not many Pokemon designs had me like, wow. I knew the plots would never really be too interesting or complex, which is fine, but I pretty much settled on figuring I knew what Pokemon had to offer, and I didn't want it. Pokemon Violet is my favorite Pokemon game, and one of my favorite games of this year. Wait, no, last year. I started this script last year. My favorite games of last year. So I got this one day one, but I didn't really pay attention to the trailers or leaks or news. I had no idea what to expect going in, though soon after the intro the game opens up and it's like an actual open world and that blew my mind. You're kind of tunneled in until you reach the school the first time, but that takes like an hour max, probably less. And you're given 3 different overall objectives, that being the gym slash Elite Four stuff, dealing with the gang, and dealing with giant Pokemon. But the best part is you can do these in whatever order you want. Granted, I would have had stuff scaled to the player level a bit more, or at the very least, the gym leaders. If I recall correctly, it's a lore thing that they use different sets of Pokemon depending on the skill level of the trainer. So it'd have been cool if you tackled the gyms in whatever order and they scaled to you, but with how things are, there's more or less a specific order they want you to tackle them, but you can largely ignore that if you just farm enough. The 3 quests are driven by 3 characters, Pneumonia, Quarters, and Arvin. Avern? Avern is the best. I won't go into spoilers here, but the gist is each one of them wants you to do something. Pneumonia being beat the gym and Elite Force to become a champion so you guys can have a champion fight. There's like multiple champions now, or it's like a rank. Quarters is working alongside you to take out the gang leaders, though she mostly just supports you. The orders come from another person who won't give their real name. Arvin wants you to beat up these like Titan Pokemon, which are just normal Pokemon but like really big. This setup of being able to go anywhere and tackle objectives in whatever way you want is pretty great and real refreshing compared to how fixed the old games used to be. You can still see the Mons out in the world too, which is also great because random encounters are the worst thing. They even added a quick battle mode, which I'm not sure if it gives less XP than regular fights, but I think it does. Either way, the raids return, so you can just do these as you come across them and get XP candies to quickly level up your team as needed. Because Game Freak seems to have a mandate that says they need a new gimmick every gen now, this time around it's Terra types. These basically just shift the Pokemon's type to something else and gives them better stats, I think. The stab property seems to improve also, but across the casual playthrough, it isn't really all that impressive. Most Pokemon you catch will tear into an element that it already has, So it's seemingly just a lamer version of Mega Evolves. Though I do like that the symbol for the Ghost Terra is the old Ghost Sprite from back in Gen 1 before you had the Sliff Scope. Terra becomes much more crucial in the competitive scene though. Where you only get one Terra per battle, you'll have to decide between using a Terra that gives you more damage, like a Sylveon with Fairy Terra, or you could use it to cover defenses, such as a Sylveon with a Fire Terra. Since most commonly, if someone sees a Fairy, they will use a Steel move. It's interesting at a competitive level, but for the more casual scene, it's kinda meh. Speaking of the competitive scene though, as before I had no interest, this gen has made preparing for the competitive level play so easy. You no longer need to breed like crazy for the perfect ability and nature and all that stuff, as there are items that would change those. Eve training is super simple also. So, if you ever wanted to get into the competitive play of Pokemon, this gen is probably the most welcome and casual friendly of the bunch. It's not entirely effortless, but it's much more approachable. Another activity I never really tried was shiny hunting. I hate it. I don't want to try it no more. My luck is awful. And most of the shiny versions are awful. I overheard my friend Fitz say someone at Game Freak didn't know what shiny variants are and made them literally look more shiny instead of alt color palettes. And that legit has to be the reason. My favorite new Pokemon was Charcadet and the evolutions. And do you want to know what the shiny variants look like? Can you tell the difference? It's the eyes. The eyes are blue. That's it. I hate it. It's rough, man. I might have just walked past who knows how many shiny versions because I could legit not tell the difference between them. The OST on this one, not many stood out except for a few pretty good tracks. Otherwise, I mostly just listen to my own music or something. The final boss with quotation mark has a good track, but not many really left an impression with me. One thing I was annoyed with was the uniforms. A giant step back from the clothes options of the previous game. This time around you are a student, so you need to wear a uniform, meaning your top and bottoms cannot be changed, save for the 4 season uniforms like winter and fall and the other two. The school has classes you can take, and some serve a practical purpose, like the history class, marking where legendaries are located on the map. But I'm not gonna lie to you, Chief, I didn't attend a single class, much like IRL, for real, for real. Okay, I'll go over the gist of the plot here, so here's the spoiler warning. I have a timestamp on the screen that shows when I stop talking about spoilers once I figure that out. Just gonna pause here in case someone needs a minute to run over and pause or something. Okay, let's begin. Nemona's story is pretty much as it comes across. She likes to battle and she wants a strong opponent. She's Goku. Yes. All the memes are correct. She is just a girl Pokemon lady. Penny, if it was not obvious, turns out to be the leader of the gang you've been fighting, as she got you to take them all down and then request for you to beat her so the gang was eliminated for sure. Her theme is pretty good. Arvern's story is that the Titans seem to feed on a special herb that he wants. You use it to restore the power of your legendary you found at the start of the game, but also to restore the health of his big friendly good old boy who got hurt. He is the child of the professor of this gen, who you have not met in person the entire time. You find out there in the middle of the map in a place called Area 0, and once getting Penny and Nemona on board, y'all head down there to explore. Down in Zero, you'll find special Paradox Pokemon, which in Violet are like futuristic and robotic, and in Scarlet they're like primal and barbaric. Heading all the way down, you find out that the professor was dead the entire game, which honestly kind of surprised me. It's actually pretty sad for Avern, as he talks about how they were absent his whole life, and now that he finally got to where they were, they're gone forever. The professor you do meet down here has been an AI all along, but you need you to shut something down before the Paradox Pokemon run amok. But because they're an AI, they can't help but defend the machine before you shut it down, so you must do battle with them. Their theme is also a banger. But once beating them, you shut the time machine off, and pretty much all is well and done. Alright, spoilers out of the way, I will say I do like the characters in this game. They might not be complex or deep, but Nemona is actually a competent rival, Arvern is great, and Penny's storyline is pretty wholesome. There is content after that I myself have not done yet. Once completing my Pokédex, I just kind of started shiny hunting and making competitive teams. All in all, I really don't know how else to convey this game is good. Great even. I've kept glancing at Pokemon and trying some of the games, but they've never been as entertaining as this one. Is this game flawless and perfect? No, of course not. Is it super great and fantastic? I wouldn't even say that really. It is definitely good though. There are a lot of bugs and glitches and poor performance, though most of it seems to be when playing online. I never really saw that much in my time playing through. If you've never played Pokemon, which I doubt that, this is a good entry. If you're like me and have been away from the series for a long time, then I def recommend checking out Gen 9 for sure. Though if you're sitting on the thought that you want things to be like Gen 1 again, I suggest you go check out Monster Crown. It's a neat little Mon clone that really gives me the feeling of playing Gen 1 again. I'm not really a fan of Pokemon clones, but I think Monster Crown is pretty solid. But alas, Game Freak released a DLC where we can change out of the uniform or else I will hold this game hostage at 0 out of 10. My demands better be met. I'm serious. You'll never live it down. Yeah, that's right.